the benefit, or one of the benefits of getting together, has to do with an expression that find it often in the Hasidic world. The expression is "Ha'emanti ki adaber," which is that my emunah, my relationship with the Kadosh Baruch Hu, is enhanced by my talking about it. When we talk about emunah and you talk about bitachon, assuming that you're not just ignoring what you're saying, but if you're paying attention to what you're saying, even though you're not yet there, there is a benefit of ha'emanti ki adaber, of talking about it. And so part of the benefit of getting together for a few minutes is to strengthen the emunah through speaking about it. And I wanted to talk a little bit, because it's so relevant to our daily lives, as to what we're meant to do with confusing times. And confusing times could be in our personal lives. Confusing could also be on a global level. And there's a lot to know about confusion. I guess we should start with the fact that Rashi tells us in the Gemara that confusion causes people to lose their footing, to lose their clarity. And things that were clear to them in less confusing times become unclear. The example that the Gemara uses is that the Satan wanted to get Klal Yisrael engaged in finding a substitute for Moshe. So he came to the people. I don't know if this was a conversation or just the thought cropped into their heads. I don't know. That where's Moshe? Where's your teacher? Where's your leader, Moshe? And they said that he's coming. Today wasn't included. He said 40 days. 40 days has to be a day that has both a night and a day. The first day didn't have a night and a day because he went up in the middle of the day. So that they had it clear. And he created, according to Rashi, he created confusion in the world. He just made a balagan. And the Gemara says, "V'lo ashkach bei," and they were able to stand firm in the face of the balagan. Apparently, the way Rashi understands it is that a balagan could throw somebody off even from something that he himself asserted a moment before. He was clear one moment, and in the next moment, the balagan happened, and all of a sudden there isn't clarity even regarding that which he himself professed to a moment before. That is the power of Balagan, the power of confusion. And that's why there was such a strong emphasis placed in the world of Musar on not getting thrown by a Balagan. It was considered almost a axiomatic, like this is what it means to be a developed person. Famous story that on the boat to China, China, the Mir Yeshiva was on the boat, and one of the fellows days on the boat can't see anything but water all around, and he found Chatzkel, and he said, in the Yiddish is where are we? Where are we? Where are we holding? V'haltman, where are we? And he responded, Shmaitza Dalid, Perik Yud Gimel. And he composed his Perush to the Shmaitza, he composed on the boat, or at least a section of it, he composed as they were traveling. That is held up as being, wow, that's how to handle Balagan. While everybody around might be losing their footing, it's the mark of the developed person to not get thrown by a Balagan. That does not mean being a stone. It's often understood in sort of the Navy SEAL kind of way is to be a stone, is to be unmoved by the Balagan. And that's what I want to clarify here. It does not mean that we're supposed to be unmoved, and it does not mean that we're supposed to be a stone. It means that we're supposed to be in the driver's seat. And the Balagan, one of its features is to throw the person off where the person doesn't feel as though they have any executive control. Now, a Balagan must always be viewed as Yisurim. I know we don't like to use Yisurim for something that isn't a tragic loss, but Balagan is a form of Yisurim. It is not the way a person would want to live. A person doesn't want to live in a state of Balagan. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu has promised us that there will be Nachla Umenucha. And the Mesilas Yesharim says that the goal even of in Olam Hazeh is to be able to have Nachas Ruach and Yishuv Hadas, because otherwise it's very hard to serve Hashem properly. So Balagan is Yisurim. But we have to recognize that it is Yisurim which a person can utilize. And how does a person utilize Yisurim? By letting it humble him. By allowing the Balagan to humble the person, that is the effective use of that Yisurim. It's a Hester Panim, that's for sure. But you can use it to humble yourself, to recognize that I'm not in control, to recognize that I need to turn to the Ribono Shel Olam, to recognize the degree to which there are so many forces and factors going on in my life, both individually and collectively, that are not in my control. So there is this Yisurim called Balagan, which we know has the capacity to throw the person off, even to the extent that the truths that he knew a moment before are now blurry. But it can also humble the person, and so he can use the Balagan to increase his relationship with Hashem through that humility. I will tell you that if you look historically, the Hashem always gives us first the opportunity to do tshuva based on Balagan, because it is the least painful of the afflictions that a person can be chas v'shalom afflicted with. The least painful because it doesn't necessarily cause the person anything physically. It's more of an emotional, intellectual confusion, but it's not as painful as chas v'shalom things that hit closer to home. And so when you look at the things that Hashem did, it caused, for example, the markets to crash, the Great Depression. Most Americans they don't refer to the Great Depression anymore. Most of them aren't old enough to remember that, but 2008 is considered like a semel. You just say the word and you refer to a market crash. the pandemic, but just to turn the whole world into a balagan. Upside down, backwards, forwards, what should be done, shouldn't be done, enormous amounts of confusion. The political unrest, political turmoil, again, confusion. Confusion on the one hand has the downside, can throw the person off. But confusion can also humble the person, and it can also strengthen the person's capacity for nachas ruach and yishuv hadas. What do I mean by strengthen? Because it's a contra, because it requires that the person flex a muscle of nachas ruach and yishuv hadas, he'll emerge from confusion with either having collapsed, that's a very sad use of confusion, or he'll emerge strengthened. I think that most people who refer to those who survived as having been strengthened, it's not so much that they're strengthened in their faith, they're more so they became strengthened in their clarity. The world became a clearer place for them. And one of the parts of the world becoming a clearer place is the ability to see through Balagan. And what does it mean to see through Balagan? To see that Balagan is a smokescreen for the Hashgacha. It is a way for Hashem to be operating very actively. There's nothing more active than what Hashem is doing in a time of Balagan, where people are not noticing that he's doing, and therefore it is properly hidden. It's happening during the Balagan. So for those who can see through the Balagan, they see a tremendous amount of Hashgachas Hashem. The people who get blinded, they get blocked by the Balagan, and all they can see is the Balagan, and they can't see the Yad Hashem behind the Balagan. There are many people who try to present a false front. Just look at my appearance, or look at my this, or look at my that, because they don't want you to see what's really going on. They don't want you to see them as a person. And so if they do a really good job of throwing up the smokescreen, you'll only see the smokescreen. You won't see the person. And the same is true on a national level and on a personal level regarding confusing times and a balagan. And in general, the fact that anybody can see through confusing times, first of all, it makes those people very precious. It makes the people who are able to see through the balagan, it makes them particularly precious. It also underscores how unreliable our judgments are. If you look in the 23rd Perek Chav Gimel of Mesilas Yesharim, he speaks about the fact that we are error-prone. And we must remember that we're error-prone, remind ourselves that we're error-prone, consult with others in order to see through our errors. I don't know if it exists anywhere else, but he uses the word tamid 5 times in the same sentence. When he's referring to this feature of the human being, that we are error-prone, he uses the word tamid, bimizbonein tamid, that a person's seichel is unreliable, and to recognize tamid, his capacity for error, and to seek tamid, to consult with others, and 5 times. Gets a little bit like you would almost think that the editor would have sent it back to the Ramchal and said, you used the word 5 times in one sentence. Did you notice? The Ramchal meant that because the humility that comes from a Balagan is very much related to the humility associated with I don't have the whole picture. I don't know all of the factors. I don't have the whole picture. It seems to be that in modern society, not knowing is somehow a glitch in the system. Everybody is supposed to have an opinion, and everybody is supposed to somehow know. And Chazal said that the key from Maseches Derech Eretz, the key to good, healthy living is lemad lishon chalomar ini yodea, is to be able to recognize the limitations of a human being and to recognize that that is what Balagan is testing. It's giving the person almost a forced taste of, I don't know. That's what Balagan is supposed to do. And people who rant and rave and rage against the Balagan are not using it for what it was designed. It's a precious piece of Yisurim. It's not comfortable. It's not fun, but it's precious. It's a gift. It's an opportunity to be able to hold on to the I don't know in a deep way so that we're continuously checking, continuously double checking, consulting with Chachamim, providing ourselves with the opportunity to gain bits of clarity in the world of confusion and Balagan. So I just wanted to use this opportunity to get together and notice how much Balagan we are being exposed to recall that every time there was challenges and tragedies, and especially on a national level, HaKadosh Baruch Hu facilitated it with a tremendous amount of Balagan. That was the way of waking us up without it hurting in the terrible physical ways that it later came to hurt. At markets, illnesses, what could be more of a Balagan than the pandemic? Political turmoil, upside down world. Say, what is my reaction to upside down? And the answer must be, it's an opportunity for me to reflect on the fact that I don't know, that I would like to know, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu provides insight to those who seek his gift and his das and his bina, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu provides that insight, and to be able to ask for that insight, seek out that insight, and not to feel that we need to push back against the insight and somehow push back against the Balagan, push back against the confusion, and force clarity where clarity doesn't exist. So I just thought that it was an opportunity to dwell on that for a moment. And as always, I invite and encourage anyone who wants to